Today we have Bel Ryan with us. Welcome, Bel.
Thank you for having me.
Bel is a lecturer at Ikon. She teaches in the Bachelor of Arts Psychotherapy, and we are very, very fortunate to have Bel as part of our academic team. Bel also runs her own private art therapy practice, Ignite Art Therapies. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Bel, can we just start maybe with a bit of a background about you and how you came to be an art therapist?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't choose to be an art therapist necessarily because I didn't really know what it was, but it was something that I discovered and couldn't believe it when I had. So I wanted to be a filmmaker when I left school, and I loved people's stories and, you know, having the lens and looking through the film and really getting people to explore and express. One thing led to another, and my mum dragged me to work with her one day at a senior secondary school, and I left that job 12 years later as a school counsellor. So I went and studied counselling. But during that time I met some people here at Ikon and realised that there was this whole other realm that I needed to explore and discover, because working with adolescents, they found it really hard to explore and express. And what I did was use art in my counselling. And one really poignant moment that we had with the psychologist at the school was when they were working with a young person who I was also working with. And they were really angry and would just get a razz out of everyone and leave every situation, and just was angry all the time. The psychologist got them to use some texters to explore their anger, and what happened was that they actually stopped and paused and looked at me and sort of said, "Do you need these texters?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know what you're going to do, but yeah, sure, do what you need to do." Anyway, they sat and paused for a moment. You could see in their mind that something was ticking over, and then they just let it rip. And what they did was actually grab the red texter, snap it in half, and smear all of the red stuff from the inside of the texter all over themselves. Flicked it on the page, and then grabbed a black texter and started stabbing it. And the look on their face was like, "Oh my God, this is it." So, and in that moment I got all tingles, I get tingles now thinking about it, that they could not express that in words. The word angry just didn't even go close to it. The psychologist then freaked out and, you know, went into panic mode. And I think about that situation and think, if I knew what I know now as an art therapist, how amazing it would have been to explore that further with them. And that's what I love about the art therapy, is it just goes to another place. But there was something in that moment where I was like, yeah, there's something in this that I need to explore further. So I naturally use symbols and resources and art in my counselling anyway. But what I've discovered is that there was something else that goes way beyond that. And so that sort of started me really thinking about this aspect. And now that I'm qualified and use art therapy all the time, it really is that powerful thing. So it's something that I sort of discovered, but I can't believe that I didn't know it existed. Yeah. But also that it just is such a natural way that I work. That, you know, art therapy is my main modality now, and I really love it. Yeah.
Now, had you actually had any experience of art therapy in terms of having an art therapy session before delving into becoming an art therapist?
I guess through my counselling studies, both in the transpersonal counselling here at Ikon and at uni as well, I had dabbled in certain aspects, but I do remember one subject in particular. Our lecturer had, you know, every week we did something symbolic and metaphoric and ritualistic, and it was this integrated studies workshop. And I remember thinking in that weekend, there's something in this. You know, like this just feels like it connects to a deeper place, and a place that I really loved it. It just, because it was different, it wasn't just a let's stand and I'll lecture and give you the content and then you go and do it. It was really interactive and hands-on. So I loved that, but I still didn't know that I was going to be an art therapist at that point. And then doing the transpersonal counselling here at Ikon, there was elements of art therapy that came through as well. And I remember having quite emotive responses to some of it personally, and knowing that that was the way I was heading. There's definitely something in that. And as an art therapist, I'm constantly looking for new learning and really trying to be in my own creative practice as well, just so that I can remind myself of what it's like for my clients and to experience it as a person as well.
And is there anything else from your professional background that you think really influenced your decision to go the art therapy path?
I've been very fortunate to meet some pretty amazing people, and one thing has led to another, and I think it's that whole experience of what I've done. So I've facilitated programs for young people in being a leader in their own life. I've worked with young people living with cancer and going on camps, and that was actually while I was studying art therapy. I was able to put into practice what I was learning straight away, and the metaphor and symbolism and the exploration that happened. So I was in charge of psychosocial elements on camps, and so it was really great to be able to bring in these elements so that the young people could explore further while they were in grief, exploring their own vulnerability, experiencing things that other young people don't necessarily experience. The art and the art therapy really was able to expand that for them. And then when I worked in palliative care, paediatric palliative care, to take people through their grief or the experiencing of having someone who is going to die, it just brings a whole other level. So I think everything that I've done has led to the next thing, and it really has expanded. So I've been very fortunate to meet some pretty amazing people who've shown me that there's other ways, and I've been able to learn from them, and that's both here at Ikon and outside of that.
Yeah. Is there anything, person, movie, book, that's influenced you as an art therapist, or the way that you deliver art therapy?
I don't think there's any one book, movie or person who's influenced me. I think you take from all of it, and I love, one of my self-care strategies is going to the movies by myself, and I love getting the message and the theme out of a movie, even though it's fake. It's not a real story necessarily. It's about what messages you take from that. So I think I draw from lots of different areas. I'm not a big reader, but it's not to say that I don't. I just like the visual aspects, and I think that's why art therapy sits with me. But I just take inspiration from everywhere. Even the person who you're sitting next to at the bus stop, everyone has a story, so I think I take that from everywhere. But there has been a couple of people who have taught me that it doesn't have to look a certain way necessarily, like bringing yourself into the space and being you is the important part, and I love that aspect, because sometimes therapy doesn't look like therapy. There's something happening in the room, and I love that aspect as well.
So who is art therapy for?
Art therapy really is for everyone. Like, I can't think of a person who's not. Different ages have different ways of working, so anyone under 5 is more play-based, but art therapy is for everyone. So there is a bit of a myth that it's just for children. I believe it's actually more for adults, in as far as we're carrying lots of stuff with us, and sometimes the bag that we're carrying and the baggage that we have is pretty heavy, and we need to actually sit and unpack it and have a look at it and give back the stuff that's not ours, work through the stuff that we don't actually need anymore, and make the load a bit lighter. That's what art therapy really is. And I think as adults we have lots of things that we think we should be doing, or we're conditioned in certain ways, or we want something different but we don't actually know how to get there. And so the art therapy really helps people to unpack and work out, how do we get to that point, and what do we need to do to break through this stuff that's preventing me from getting there.
And in your private practice, do you focus on a particular group of people?
Yes, I obviously, it's not always just this certain person, but what I'm doing in my one-on-one sessions is working with people who are in their mid 30s to 40s and are really thinking that life needs to change in some way. And part of that is them feeling stuck or lost, or my relationship isn't like I would like it to be. I'm a manager at work and I have to deal with all these people who I'm having trouble with. So it's really that space to explore, where am I at and where do I need to go? So I really love working with adults from that point of view. I do also see children, but my main focus is actually on adults, because I think we have so much that we could be doing. We just don't realise that we're doing it yet.
And what have you found to be most rewarding about being an art therapist?
The most rewarding thing about being an art therapist is the stuff that no one will ever see. I get tingles and I love it when people break through something. That fear of being, quitting a job and doing another career, that fear of what if my relationship's breaking down. Those moments when people realise something that they didn't know before. That's the stuff that I love about art therapy, because it really is about exploring and discovering things so that you can actually go into your life and live it. So the art will inform, and then your life sits alongside that, and then it informs what you need to do. So the other moments that I really love is when people just have those ahas and really realise something. But also the fact that the art therapy space is a place where you can take the mask off, where you can be the real you. And that's what I love, because sometimes people feel like they have to hold it all together, or people see them in a certain way, but behind that there's something else really going on. And that's what I love, is that they're able to actually just be themselves and breathe in that space and really explore what's really happening, rather than the face that they show the world.
So is there a moment in your career that you're most proud of? And it doesn't have to be art therapy related. Or maybe a project, or...
I actually got asked this the other day, and I think the thing that I'm most proud of is the continuous development, and the whole idea that I don't know it all, that each person that I work with is the expert in their own life. And I love that I can sit in a space and discover and be curious with them. And I think that's the best part about what I do. But as far as being proud of, I think it's just getting to a point where I can actually hold space for other people and be trusted, and create that space where they can discover what they need to discover. So it's actually about my clients, it's not about me.
Would you say that art therapy will be a growing profession moving into the future, and will it change in any ways?
It's interesting, because when I first started as an art therapist, that was when I started working in palliative care, where I was officially an art therapist, people would ask me what I do, and I say I'm an art therapist, and 9 out of 10 times I'd get a what? Where now it's probably 1 out of 10 times when people need a bit more expansion. So that's how much in 7 years that art therapy has grown, but people are more familiar with it and recognise its benefits and see that. So I can only see it growing because people are more familiar with it, more aware of it, and realise the power of it. So that's what I love, actually, is that people are discovering it. I used to always talk about, it's like we're sitting on this golden egg that nobody knows about, but now people can see it. So that's pretty awesome. And I can just see it getting bigger and better, because we sit in our head so much, and art therapy takes us out of our head into who we are in the moment. Yeah. I think I'm one of those people who, when you meet, sometimes you just spill your guts out to, and you don't even realise that there's something about, I'm real, and in the therapy space and in my life, I'm not that much different. And I think that's one of the best things, is being authentic and real, so that people can be real themselves. So it's almost like a knowing, and this space, it's like an unspoken thing of people being able to trust you and feel safe in your presence. So I think that's one of my superpowers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Creating that innate trust.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I was talking to someone the other day about the fact that I was like, do I have therapist written on my head, finding the supermarket or whatever, but it's just conversations and being friendly, yeah. The thing I love about teaching at Ikon is the hands-on experience. I love imparting knowledge, and I love the fact that students can actually go, okay, here's the theory, and now let's have a go at it and see how it plays out for you. So it's that real understanding of the concept by doing it, because I don't think you can be a therapist unless you've experienced it for yourself. So the classroom isn't a therapy space necessarily, but it's about learning those concepts, and it also reminds me of what I need to be doing, and it expands my own practice, because together with the students we're actually exploring concepts, and I love that aspect, that I'm constantly learning at the same time, or reminding myself of some of the things that I learned when I was here. So I love that aspect, that we're sort of all in it together and working it out, and I love that I can bring my experience into the space that helps the students identify where they're going and what skills they need and how does this all work. And also the collaboration with the other lecturers, I love that we sort of can connect, because we all have a different personality as far as our therapy goes, and I love that we can all bring something to the space and the students get a different point of view, and I think that's really valuable for them.
So in terms of future direction of art therapy,
yes,
do you see it evolving in a different way, or perhaps having different applications than it does currently?
I think there's huge potential for where art therapy can go, and that's, in my business I'm going into organisations and doing wellbeing programs, and I think that's amazing, because it's people who are stressed, burnt out, vicarious trauma. There's lots of things that can happen, as well as debriefing and doing things like that we can use the art therapy to explore things in a different way. I would love to see an art therapist in every single school. I think that's where we need to start. To really allow children to explore what's happening for them, so that we can, if they do it when they're younger, when they're older, their relationships are closer, and their life can be regulated, and they know what to do. So the potential for art therapy is huge. Prisons, workplaces, debriefing in highly emotive areas, there's so much potential, and that's what I would love to see, is that it just becomes a normal thing, like an art therapist is in an organisation or a school or whatever it is, just like psychologists or counsellors may be.
So do you think art therapy will be your lifelong career? Can you see that?
I know that art therapy and the concepts of art therapy will always be in everything that I do, because I just resonate with it so much. And whatever the future holds, I'm not entirely sure. Just like back when I was working in a school, I didn't know that it was going to lead to this. So I would never say never, but I always know it's part of what I do, because it is actually about the storytelling and the discovery that happens along the way, and helping people to find that for themselves. And I know that's innately what I'll be doing, no matter what that looks like. Yeah. So whether it's in a therapy situation like I am now, or talking at conferences, or who knows what else will come, whether it's going back to filmmaking, I sort of have a little bit of a calling at the moment that might be something to go back to. I know that art therapy will be part of it, and people's stories and their exploration is definitely going to be in my future. One of the reasons why I'm really focusing on adults is because I think we are really stressed as a society. We are busy being busy, and we live amongst chaos, and our whole being is just stressed to the max. And it's almost like we're drowning. If we were a boat, for instance, we are sinking, and we're trying to work massively to try and get the water out so that we can stay afloat. But in actual fact, we probably need to spend some time and get anchored, to spend that time to sort of be able to explore the rough seas and work out how we navigate that. Where are our life jackets? Where are the rocks? Where's our lighthouse? The metaphor that plays out when you think about a concept. If we were a boat and our life was represented in that way, what does the sea look like? And I think for lots of people, it's massive waves that they actually can't navigate. And it's like, do you ride the wave? Do you go under it? What do you do with it? And so that's why I'm really passionate about working with adults because it's like we don't actually have to be as stressed as what we are. We're more connected than ever, but less connected than ever. And so it's like, how do we navigate that? How do we find our own compass and look to the horizon and really find our own way?
Can you see a place for technology in art therapy in the future?
Yes, and I've actually been doing some amazing exploring with some technology. I won't tell you about it yet, but when when I've got it up and running, I'll let you know, because technology can actually do so much with people's fears, anxiety. Some people just resonate in an electronic form. It's just another medium. It's just like clay or crayons or whatever. It's just another way of doing something. And I think particularly for young people or people who are into technology, it's another way of connecting.
That's interesting. And what's your favourite medium in terms of art therapy?
I have a few favourites. And I think the reason I love them so much is because it's tactile, and there's something in the metaphor and symbolism that happens in the moment with it. So plasticine, I love that because it's hard, and then you can soften it when you work it, and you can manipulate it and change it and transform it. I love construction, so basically using any recycled material. The fact that it's recycled is great, but I love the 3D nature of that, so you can actually have a look at something from all different angles, and the actual making and the way things stick together or not. I have a client at the moment who nothing is sticking together, but it should in theory, but that's what's playing out in the moment. And so it's something about what's happening in their life of not being able to put it together yet. And so that's how it plays out. So I love construction, and the other one is paper making. I love that from the point of view of people can have something in one form and then you mush it up. There's something about the blender that just creates it differently, and then it takes another form. So I guess it's the transition stuff is what I really love. And there's also sand play. I love that because the symbolism and the depth that goes to is incredible. So it's all exploration stuff, but I love the transformation and to see people be in a process and then realise something shifts within them as well, that then shifts in their life. That's pretty amazing.
And I can feel your passion.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's a bit like when you have children, you're not supposed to have your favourite. Yeah, but they're my top 5. There's 5, but they're all tactile sort of mediums. Yeah.
So sand play and clay play, are they used differently?
Yes, yeah. So clay field is really an industry on its own, and so is sand play actually. There's elements of it that we can use in art therapy as well. Yeah, so they're different.
So what do you like most about being in private practice?
I love that people have a space to come to, and that they can have something that they can explore whatever's happening for them. So it's not that they have to fit into an organisation and what the services they provide, that the art therapy provides a space that can deal with lots of different issues, or even when people want to dream about something and don't know how to get there. So that's what I love about private practice, is it can be tailored each session to what the client needs, and that's what we do. We actually establish what they want out of the session, and then we work through that through the art.
And how did you come to the decision to go into private practice?
It accidentally happened. So I was working part-time in my role at the hospital, and I had a couple of days free, so I thought I'll just get another job, work 2 jobs and see how it goes. But people then just started asking me, can I come and see you? I was like, oh, I guess so. And so it sort of started like that, and now is obviously my full focus. I'm in business full-time for 6 months now. And I, over the last 3 or 4 years, have taken it a little bit more seriously, and because I know that people are seeking something, and I have a service that can be provided. So, it's about letting people know about it and really providing that space for them.
Fantastic. And if someone wants to book an appointment with you or have a look at your services, where can they go?
So you can go to ignitearttherapies.com.au, but also on social media, Facebook and Instagram. I'm Ignite Art Therapies, and obviously on my website you can book in and have an appointment, or give me a call and we can sort of talk about what the possibilities are.
Great. And for a first art therapy session,
Yes.
how long would that go for?
So art therapy sessions go anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes depending on where we're at. So that's where it's a little bit different to counselling, say, because they usually just go on an hour. Because the art can bring stuff up and we want to fully explore that rather than leave people halfway through. And yeah, so a first session may take the full 90 minutes because there's lots of information that we sort of like to gather and get to know each other a little bit and have people feel comfortable in the space, because quite often people are a bit nervous about what's going to happen and how do I do this, and quite often the art can be the bit that people get a little bit scared of. And the great thing is that you don't actually have to be good at art. It's about exploring. It's not about making masterpieces to go in an art gallery. So it's really about what the art mirrors back to you and the experience that you have in the art that then informs. So it takes a little while in a first session just to get used to that space, and I'm there to guide people through and reassure, and if there's any questions and things that need to be answered, then we can do that.
Right. Just something that I was curious about, your opinion on, I guess, using art therapy pieces in gallery spaces, and whether you had a view on that.
I personally think that it's up to the client how that experience happens. If the intention behind a group project that's art therapy based was that it was going to be in a public space, I think that's fine, as long as the client knows, or the person who's doing the art therapy, of the intention behind that. Because sometimes people want their stuff to be witnessed, and there's therapy and healing in that alone. But your everyday art therapy process, I don't think it's ethical to then just display it or show people, because it's like telling them what happens in a session. So it's about what the client wants to do with it and the intention behind that. But there is some really great healing and in people knowing that it's others will see it and experience it and maybe get something reflected back to them.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today.
No worries.
Bel. And if you would like some more information about booking a session with Bel, you can visit ignitearttherapies.com.au, or you can visit Bel's Facebook or Instagram pages as
Yes.
well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bel.
Thank you.